Nimeamka na tabasamu, moyo wangu uko sawa. Leo natembea kama maji bila pawa. Viatu chini, uchumi juu, nahitaji tu furaha. Nikipiga step pole pole, kila shida inatoweka. Acha niende mawimbi yanishike, niko fresh, niko feel, usiku nishike. Nisukume kidogo, nikeze mpaka mwisho, mikono hewani, tunaishi leo. Cheza kama hivi, maisha level yangu, sina stress mimi. Cheza kama hivi, naruka nacheza najibamba mimi. Toka juu hadi chini chini, toka juu hadi chini chini. Cheza kama hivi, maisha level yangu.
1 2 1 2. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me so that we can start the class kindly. I'm having a bit of a heat, but I'm trying to fix that. All right, I do trust that we are good to go. Welcome to class. In Swahili, we do say karibu, karibu sana. And now, of course, if you're saying hello to a group of people, you would say hamjambo, and then you will tell them hamjambo, karibu sana. We have been learning Swahili for a very long time, right here on the Black Hotfire Network, media for the 21st century. And before we get started with our class for today, I would actually love to say that Swahili is one of the most prolific languages on the African continent and even off the continent. It has over 200 million speakers on and off the continent. If you're talking about countries such as Kenya, in Kenya, we have close to 60 million people. If you go to Tanzania, we have about 70 million plus million people. And also in Uganda, we do have about 50, close to million people right there. So if you look at the numbers between among these three countries, you realize that Swahili is widely accepted. And in our class for today, we are learning Swahili or Kiswahili. Swahili phrases. For example, if someone says toka hapa, what do they mean? Toka hapa simply means get out of here. Toka hapa. Hapa means get out of here. Toka hapa. We shall also be learning about the singular and the plural form of words. We shall be learning about prepositions. We shall be learning about pronouns. We shall be learning about questions and how you ask them. Because the intonation changes. If you're learning about questions, most of the time we do find that there will be a change over the tones and the intonation, and therefore we shall be learning about how you exactly get to do that. We shall also be studying Swahili vocabulary, and we shall also be doing some bit of exercises while we are on this particular platform, so that this can help you with your Swahili grammar, and so that you can be able to understand how that particular works out. And of course, if you're talking about the adjectives, for example, if you're talking about the adjectives, we do get to describe words in Swahili, and you realize that there is a difference between how you do it in English and also how you do it in Swahili. And for the case of our learning for today, we shall be getting into Swahili adjectives. We shall be getting into Swahili adjectives. In Swahili, they are called vielelezi because they actually get to explain more. They actually get to describe. For example, they might talk about more about the noun, and therefore they're trying to explain about the noun, and therefore they are known as vielelezi in Swahili. And you realize that while in English an adjective doesn't change when the noun changes, in Swahili an adjective should of course agree with the noun class. Remember, in our previous class, we have learned about noun classes, and we said that we have about 9 noun classes. So when we do have them in the singular and in their plural, they will add up to 18 noun classes. They will add up to 18 noun classes. For example, the our class of noun, we learned that this constitutes mostly of living things and people. We might be talking about a teacher, we would say mwalimu. We might be talking about a student, we would say mwanafunzi. We might be talking about a farmer, we would say mkulima. We might be talking about maybe perhaps a tourist, we would say mtalii. We might be talking about a visitor, you would say mgeni. And when you do have those particular hour, and then we would have now the adjectives, and these adjectives are therefore they would describe these adjectives, they would describe these particular nouns. For example, if you're talking about a farmer, you would say mkulima. Mkulima, that is a farmer, and you might say mkulima hodari. Mkulima hodari. Mkulima is a farmer. Just let me put it down. Mkulima. Mkulima. This is how you refer to a farmer. This is how to refer to a farmer. And if they are a very popular farmer, so the word for popular would be hodari. Hodari. That is hodari for popular. Popular. This is the adjectives that you're studying. And therefore, if you said mkulima hodari, mkulima hodari, you simply are referring to a popular farmer. Mkulima hodari, you're referring to a popular farmer in that regard. Popular farmer in that regard. A popular farmer. If you're talking about maybe perhaps a very good child, maybe perhaps they are very obedient, or maybe perhaps they are trustworthy. If someone is trustworthy, you would say mwaminifu. For example, you would say mwaminifu. This is trustworthy. For example, let me try share this. You're talking about maybe a popular farmer. If you're talking about someone who is trustworthy, then you would say mwaminifu, because the word mwaminifu comes from the word believe. Believe is amini. So if someone means believe me, amini is believe. Amini is believe. And if someone says kuamini, ku means the verb in action. Kuamini, they mean to believe, And you might go further than that and talk about mwaminifu. Aminifu is believable or trustworthy. Aminifu is actually believable or trustworthy, and that is exactly how you try to explain and do the same if you're talking about a word such as that. So you do have another example. For example, you're talking about a good child. You would say mtoto mzuri. Mzuri really refers to good. And if you're talking about maybe perhaps something that is good and that is not, maybe perhaps you're talking about an inanimate object. If you're talking about an inanimate object, then you would say kizuri. For example, you might be saying kiti kizuri kimetengenezwa. Kiti kizuri kimetengenezwa. And that would be a good chair has been made. But in the previous example, where you're talking about mtoto mzuri is a good child. And if you do say amefika, it means the good child has arrived. But there's a difference, because as opposed to in English, where when an adjective doesn't change, when the noun changes, in Swahili an adjective changes and it should agree with the noun class. So therefore, if you're talking about mtoto falls in the wa class of noun or the awa class of noun, and therefore that would be mtoto mzuri amefika. But when you look at something like a chair, a seat, then you would say kiti kizuri. The chair or the seat is good. So you're saying kiti kizuri. So there's a difference between kizuri and mzuri. While it means something good, the use of it in a sentence is determined by the noun it's describing. So if you're talking about a noun such as the toto, then you would say toto zuri. So you also have to use the syllable, the consonant as a prefix for the adjective. The adjective is zuri, but is used as a prefix for the adjective to show what noun class that lies under. It is used to show what noun class that particular word is describing, it falls under. And it is not very, very difficult. It is not very, very difficult. So you can also have another example. For example, if you're talking about a car, this is a third example. If you're talking about a car, then you would say gari nzuri, gari zuri, gari zuri limeletwa. This is a good car has been brought. So therefore, the root adjective that is zuri, zuri, it means good. It means good. If you remember in our previous classes, we did say that, for example, if you're talking about a greeting, the Swahili greeting, someone might ask habari yako, habari yako. Someone might ask habari yako, which is how are you. Someone might ask habari yako, and habari yako simply is a greeting. It's a greeting, and you would ask habari yako. If someone says habari yako, you can respond and say nzuri, nzuri. You would say nzuri, nzuri, which means good. And therefore, you find that there is a root adjective, which is zuri. Zuri is describing how you are. So if you're describing that you are good or you are okay, then you would say zuri, zuri or nzuri. You might also respond and say salama, salama. We have learned that it's not difficult. You could respond and you could say salama. Salama simply means okay. It means well. But nonetheless, let's go back to our nouns. Nzuri, it means good. Nzuri, it simply means good. Trying to show it on the screen. Yes, I think I'm able to show it on the screen. But let me know. Thank you so much also for joining us on this particular broadcast, which is a Saturday Swahili class for the weekend. And the goal of actually having this particular class is to teach us and to help us just have an appreciation and an understanding of the language, so that you can see how easy it is for you to be able to learn this beautiful language. It's not difficult. It's actually very, very easy. And we always do say that Swahili is a beautiful language. It has a gist to it. It's not just a flat language. And it has a gist because it is a language made up of syllables with alternating vowel sounds. It is a language made up of syllables with alternating vowel sounds. So therefore, for example, in the word katiba, katiba means a constitution. Katiba means a constitution, but it has ka, ti, ba. Ka, for example, ka, ti, ba, ka, ti, ba. So it has three vowels, syllables, ka, with the vowel sound a, and the syllable t, and then the syllable ba with the vowel a. So ka, ti, ba, that means a constitution. But I was just giving an example to show you that these words are actually, they have a gist to them. And that is why Swahili becomes a very beautiful language. We shall take a short break. We shall enjoy one song. It's known as Kama Hivi. And we shall be right back after this particular jam. Let me know how you feel about it. And any other Swahili song that you love, maybe perhaps we might decide to throw it in there somewhere.
Nimeamka na tabasamu, moyo wangu uko sawa. Leo natembea kama maji bila pawa. Viatu chini, uchumi juu, nahitaji tu furaha. Nikipiga step pole pole, kila shida inatoweka. Acha niende mawimbi yanishike, niko fresh, niko feel, usiku nishike. Nisukume kidogo, nikeze mpaka mwisho, mikono hewani, tunaishi leo. Cheza kama hivi, maisha level yangu, sina stress mimi. Cheza kama hivi, naruka nacheza najibamba mimi. Toka juu hadi chini chini, toka juu hadi chini chini. Cheza kama hivi, maisha level yangu, sina stress mimi. ukimbii na uacha ufuate bite, nikikanyaga pole pole nafika bila takatifu. Mtaa unaniona leo nikiwa na nuru usoni, kuna raha ndani yangu inachemka kama maji. Acha niende mawimbi yanishike, niko fresh, niko huyu usiku nishike, nisukume kidogo nicheze mpaka mwisho, mikono hewani tunaishi leo. Cheza cheza kama hivi, maisha level yangu sina stress mimi, yeah. Cheza cheza kama hivi, naruka nacheza najibamba mimi, yeah. Toka juu hadi chini chini, toka juu hadi chini chini. Cheza cheza kama hivi, maisha level yangu sina stress mimi, yeah. Leo sipimi kesho, ninavuta pumzi moya, mapenzi ya kawaida yanateka bila hoja. Kama unanisoma ndio karibu taratibu, tule furaha pamoja bila pressure, bila tabu. Cheza cheza kama hivi, maisha level yangu sina stress mimi, cheza cheza kama hivi, naruka nacheza najibamba mimi, toka juu hadi chini chini, toka juu hadi chini chini. Cheza cheza kama hivi, maisha level yangu sina stress mimi, nilikaa kwenye vumbi, moyo ukiwa mzito, kila hatua ilikuwa ndefu kama mlima usioisha, lakini niliokota nguvu pale nilipo.
Yes, and we are back with the Swahili class. Apologies for that. I was just saying that Swahili is a beautiful language, and I've just played the song. One of the songs known as Machozi. Machozi simply means tears, and then the song before, it's known as Kama Hivi. Kama Hivi means like this. So if someone is telling you to cheza kama hivi, cheza kama hivi, it means dance like this or move like this. And that is actually a very, very beautiful song for a weekend like this. I was just saying that normally over the weekends, people are very busy trying to get from point A to point B, connecting with friends, just getting time to catch up and rest, everything. But regardless of whatever you are actually up to this particular day, it is still very, very important that you pick your interest in learning this beautiful language with us and just connect with us as we get to learn together this language. So welcome. And I would just actually urge you to make sure that you head over to www.blackhotfirenetwork.com, and once you are on there, you can sign up. If you haven't signed up for notifications, you can turn on the notifications on there, and you'll be able to find out what particular shows are happening and when they are happening, because it is very, very important that you also get to connect to the rest of the shows on the network website. It's www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. And you are able to really just connect to people, because we do say that iron sharpens iron, iron sharpens iron, and therefore you realize that if you're connecting with people who have like-minded ideas, and of course also the Black Hot Fire Network playing a part in the awakening of our people globally, it is important that you connect with the people there, and that you are also part of the Black Hot Fire family. In case you are joining us for the very first time over the weekends on Saturdays and Sundays, we normally get to have an opportunity to learn Swahili together. You can always, the reason as why we do it live is because you can be able to engage and you can be able to ask questions. You can be able to interject at any point, and you can be able to ask anything that you have not understood that we have just mentioned. But yes, this is a Black Hot Fire Network. This is the website, the official website. We do have the sports show that is with Kamlesh. We also do have the show with Joby and Shmani. And of course, we do have a whole lot of wonderful shows lined up for you. The Africa Today show with Keith and Joby, and a whole lot of wonderful things that you can find on the network there as well. So there's a tab for news. You can find out what's happening with the USA news. You can find out what's happening with the business and economy, entertainment, international news. You can find out what is going on with international sports, science and technology. You can also head over to Africa and Kenya news, because we do have the studio in Kenya and also in the US. So you can check out what is happening with business and economy, with entertainment. You can find out what is happening with other things as well on there. It is very, very important that you are also able to do that and find out what's going on with that. So there are many news. Apologies about that. There are news on the network website, and I was just sharing with us that you can actually get to find out what is happening with the rest of the world, and you can also check out a blog, the blog here, which is of course also tells you what is going on with Africa as well. There are featured blogs. If you click on this, you will be able to see what are the featured blogs, and this is actually a wonderful platform. What we have realized is that. When you talk about black media has actually been controlled, and even the narratives for black media, they have actually been controlled. And what you do find is that there is not actual information regarding what is happening in reality. What you do find is that there is a whole lot of programming that goes on, and therefore you realize that if you do have a platform such as a Black Wi-Fi network, you are actually at luck. You at luck, because you can be able to find out what is happening on the ground in real time. And we do have our studios in Nairobi, and of course also in the US as well. So for example, if you check out this particular page, which is the featured blogs, you'll find what's going on with African history, and of course not just history but even current issues going on with the African continent, and of course with us as a black people globally. Doesn't matter whether you're talking about North America or South America, or you're talking about Europe, Eastern Europe or Western Europe. It is very, very important that you also get to stick with Black Wi-Fi Network and find out what's going on with that. Nonetheless, we are back, and today our focus is on Swahili adjectives. We do say that adjectives are known as VLLs, simply because they will explain more about the phrases or the nouns. And we have said that it is very important that you realize what is the noun class of the noun that is being described by the adjectives. For example, is it the wa class of noun? Is it the ki v class of noun? Is it the li ya class of noun? Because we have, of course, studied all these nouns, and we have seen the noun classes as 9 noun classes. And it is very important that you understand this, because how now you put the adjective, it is determined by the noun class. For example, if it's a seat, it's called a kitty. Kitty falls in the ki v class of noun. So if you might say kitty kizuri, that is a good chair. But if you're talking about many chairs, you would say viti vizuri. So the root adjective remains, but you do find that it has a prefix which is determined by the noun class. It follows the noun class. For example, ki zuri, that would be falling in the ki v class of noun. V zuri, that is the v from the v, the syllable v that we used when we are talking about nouns. nouns in the key V class of noun, but this is in their plural form. In their plural form, they will start with V. For example, viti, vinywaji. You might have more examples, but let me just use those two examples for this particular class at the moment. So the adjectives are as, for example, if you're talking about tall, the adjective for tall is a refu. The adjective for tall is refu. But if you're talking about a building, it would be ndefu. Ndefu. A tall building, you might say njengo ndefu. Njengo ndefu. If you're talking about something that is red, we have studied about colors, and let me just stop a bit and tell us, remind us about colors, because we have learned about colors in our previous classes. If you're talking about, for example, black is an adjective. You're referring to a color. So black, it becomes nyeusi, nyeusi, nyeusi. For example, if you're talking about a black pen, you would therefore say kalamu nyeusi, kalamu nyeusi. You would say kalamu is a pen, kalamu nyeusi, nyeusi. That would be a black pen, black pen. Kalamu nyeusi is actually a black pen. Excuse me. If you are talking about, for example, a black phone, a phone, we call phone simu, a cell phone, it's known as simu, simu. Therefore, you would say simu nyeusi. You would say simu nyeusi. You would say simu nyeusi. That is a black phone. Black phone. Black phone. If you're talking about a car, we normally do call a motor vehicle or a car, we call it gari, G-A-R-I. So if someone says gari nyeusi, that means a black car. Gari nyeusi, that is a black car, a black car, a black car. We're talking about a car. Maybe you just describe it to someone. You might have come across someone who is waiting for their vehicle. Maybe it's a taxi or something, and therefore that would be a black car. That is exactly how you would say it, a black car, a black car. If you're talking about maybe a black bag, you would say mkoba. A bag is mkoba. Mkoba is a bag. Mkoba is a bag. So if you're talking about a black bag, you would say mkoba, mkoba mweusi, mkoba mweusi, mkoba mweusi, mkoba mweusi. That is a black bag, a black bag, a black bag. That is exactly how you would say it, a black bag. And if you're talking about maybe what else can you, a book, a book. If you're talking about a book, you would say kitabu cheusi, kitabu cheusi. This is cheusi is also determined by what noun, class of noun the noun falls. So if you're talking about a book is known as kitabu, kitabu, and therefore you might say kitabu cheusi, cheusi. Then that happens to be a black book, a black book. So that is how you get to that is how you get to say it. That is how you get to say it, and that is not even difficult. It's not even difficult. It's not even difficult. It's not even difficult in that regard. In that regard. I think let me just correct myself as even before we continue. Sorry, I confused, and I did say that an adjective is vielelezi, no, but an adjective is actually vivumishi. Adjective is vivumishi. It's actually vivumishi. But an adverb, if you're talking about an adverb An adverb is vielelezi. Vielelezi. Vielezi. Vielezi is actually an adverb. Vielezi is actually an adverb. So let me just correct myself right there. Vielezi. Vielezi is actually an adverb. Vielezi is actually an adverb. So that was a bit of a mix-up. That was a bit of a mix-up on there. But nonetheless, let me continue with the adjectives. Let me continue with the adjectives, and I'm sharing my screen here. I'm sharing my screen here. So for the adjectives, for example, if you're talking about the colors, I have said that the color black is nyeusi. The color black is nyeusi. If you're talking about red, you would say nyekundu, nyekundu, nyekundu. Nyekundu is red. For example, kalamu nyekundu. Kalamu nyekundu means a red pen, a red pen. So therefore, if someone says ninataka kalamu nyekundu, ninataka kalamu nyekundu, it simply means I want a red pen. I want a red pen. That is exactly how you would say it. I want a red pen. If you wanted to have maybe perhaps a black one, you would say a red and a black one, then you would say ninataka kalamu nyekundu, which is I want a red pen, na nyeusi pia. Na nyeusi pia, then that would be and a black one too, and a black one too, because pia is a preposition. It means also. Pia it means also. It means also as well. If you're describing in this for the example, the for the example here is a very old man, a very old man, and that would be mzee mkongwe sana, mzee mkongwe sana, or mtu mzee sana, mtu mzee sana. I hope you can see my screen, and I hope that you can understand, because I am trying to explain, and I do believe that with time, I always do say that you have to practice until you become perfect. But in that regard, it is also important that you keep on also maybe perhaps engaging other people as well, because if you do, then you are able to also learn with friends, are able to learn with your colleagues, and it becomes very, very important that you also engage other people along your journey in learning and understanding of this beautiful language of Swahili. So the other example is the old red house. Then you would say nyumba nyekundu iliyozeeka sana. Nyumba nyekundu iliyozeeka sana. Sana is simply a word that is for emphasis. If someone says sana, it means very or a lot. It means very or a lot. So therefore, if someone says nyumba, if someone says mzee mkongwe sana, it means a lot. You are emphasizing that they are actually very old. You are emphasizing that they are actually very old. If someone says mzuri sana, it means that you are just emphasizing. It means that you are just emphasizing, and therefore you are saying sana, mzuri sana, mzuri sana. Or you might say mbaya sana. Sana, it means a lot. It means a lot. So therefore, those are a few examples. And you can always get to check out more examples on this particular platform. I'll share with you the link because it's mylanguages.org, and then /Swahili adjectives, and they are not difficult to learn. We do have a list of other adjectives, but you have to notice the structure of the adjectives in Swahili. We do have colors. I have said black is nyeusi. If you're talking about brown, you would say hudhurungi, hudhurungi for brown. If you're talking about orange, you would say chungwa. Orange, you would say chungwa. If you're talking about the other color, which is white, you would say nyeupe. You would say nyeupe. And if you're talking about something like the color yellow, you would say manjano. manjano, which is the color yellow, which is manjano. If you're talking about maybe a color which is like green, you would say kijani kibichi, kijani kibichi. And kijani kibichi simply is green, green. And you would say parachichi, for example, the avocados are known as parachichi, but you might say parachichi nzuri limekolea rangi ya kijani kibichi, which means that the good avocado is really just a nice dark green or deep green. You might say it in that regard. If you're talking about the sizes are known as vipimo. The sizes are known as vipimo. What the sizes are known as vipimo. And if you're talking about a big, something big, then you would say kubwa. For something big, excuse me, for something big, you would say kubwa. You would say kubwa. For example, gari kubwa. Gari kubwa, you might say nimenunua, nitanunua gari kubwa. Nunua means to buy. I think we have used that particular word when we learn verbs. Nunua means to buy, and therefore you might say nitanunua gari kubwa, which means I will buy a big car. I will buy a big car is nitanunua gari kubwa. If you're talking about a smaller one, then therefore you would say ndogo, ndogo, ndogo. Ndogo is ndogo is small. Ndogo is small. So therefore you might say nitanunua gari ndogo, and that would be I will buy a small car. I will buy a small car. If you're talking about maybe a phone, you might say ninataka simu kubwa, which means I want a big phone. I want a big phone. Ninataka simu kubwa, then that is I want a big phone. If you wanted to buy or have a small phone, then you would say ndogo, ndogo, because you're describing the size. And the size, when you say small, you simply translate that into ndogo, ndogo. But you might also maybe describing the time that you are at a place, or that you will be arriving at a place. You might say muda kidogo. Muda kidogo, it simply means a little time, a little time. A little time, you would say muda kidogo. But if it's a lot of time, you might say muda mingi, muda mingi, muda mingi, or muda mwingi, muda mingi, or muda mwingi. And if you're talking about the depth, you would say kina kirefu, kina kirefu. This is an adjective describing something which is deep. And therefore, you would say kina kirefu, kina kirefu. And if you're talking about something that is maybe shallow, or if you're talking about something that is long, you would say refu. You would say refu. You would say refu for something that is long. If you're talking about something that is short, then you would say fupi. You would say fupi. For example, you might say safari fupi. Safari fupi. Safari fupi is just a short journey. A short journey. And if you're talking about a very long journey, then you would say safari ndefu. Safari ndefu. That is exactly how you would say it. And it's not even difficult. It's actually very easy. What you just need to do is it's just to practice. And we always do say that practice makes perfect. Practice makes perfect. If you're describing other things and you're describing them, for example, you're talking about thin, you would say webamba, webamba, webamba for thin. If you're talking about wide, then you would say upana. You would say upana. For example, you might say njia pana. Njia pana is a very narrow road, a wide road. But if you're talking about njia nyembamba, then that would be a very, very narrow road, because njia means a road, or yes, njia means a road. And you might say njia pana for a very wide road, or njia nyembamba for a very narrow road. Remember, for length, we would say refu, which is if it's long. If it's short, we do say fupi. Like I've given an example of safari fupi, or you might say safari ndefu if it's a long journey. If it's a long journey. If you do have a question up to that particular point, please ask. If you do have a question to that particular point, please ask. Kama uko na swali, tafadhali uliza. Does anyone have a question? If anyone has a question, kindly ask. Kama uko na swali, tafadhali uliza. Because swali is simply a question. So if you do have a question, do not hesitate to ask. I will be more than glad to respond. Ze, kuna swali, which is there a question up to that particular point? If no one has a question, I think we shall take a short break. And remember, today we are learning about adjectives. And these adjectives, they are known as vivumishi. They are known as vivumishi. And they simply describe the nouns. And for example, we have said, if it's a long journey, you would say safari. Safari is a journey. Refu, refu is that adjective. R-E-F-U. Refu, let me just put it down. Refu, which is long. But if it's short, then you would simply say fupi. If it's short, then you would simply say fupi for short. Fupi for short. So therefore, someone might say safari ndefu or safari fupi. Safari ndefu or safari fupi. If you have a question, please ask. Tafadhali uliza kama uko na swali lolote. If you have a question, please ask. If not, we shall take a short break. We shall enjoy some music. Because I always do say that if you're trying to learn Swahili, please try learn it with some music as well, because it is also very, very important that you get to, catch a drift of what's going on.
Nilikaa kwenye vumbi, moyo ukiwa mzito, kila hatua ilikuwa ndefu kama mlima usioisha, lakini niliokota nguvu pale nilipoanguka, nikaweka jina langu juu ya kidonda. Nilikosa sauti, nikameza kilio, nikabeba siku hizi kama jiwe kifuani, lakini bado nipo, bado na hema, bado naona mwanga ukinipitia. Pole pole najisogeza mbele, pole pole najijenga tena. Usiku huu si wa mwisho, moyo wangu bado unajua kuota. Machozi yanatiririka, lakini naendelea. Machozi yanatiririka, naendelea. Najifuta leo, nainuka tena. Kesho ni mpya, naanza tena. Machozi yanatiririka, lakini naendelea. Machozi yanatiririka, naendelea. Nafungua njia yangu. Nilidondoka chini, dunia ikanyamaza. Watu wakapita, nikabaki na kivuli, lakini ndani yangu kuna cheche ndogo, haiwezi kuzima na upepo wote. Nilijifunza kusimama bila kushika mkono, kusikia moyo kinambia usikate tamaa. Kila kovu langu ni ushuhuda kwamba maumivu haya yakunimaliza. Machozi yanatiririka, kimya usiku wa giza, nalia moyoni pole, nikijificha na maumivu haya, lakini najinyanyua, najifuta machozi yangu. Kesho ni mpya tena, naanza safari yangu. Nilidondoka chini, dunia ikanikataa, lakini ndani yangu kuna moto hauzimiki. Ninainuka juu, napaka matai angani, kwa tumaini jipya nitaangaza gizani. Machozi yanatiririka, lakini naendelea. Machozi yanatiririka, naendelea. Najifuta leo, nainuka tena. Kesho ni mpya, naanza tena. Machozi yanatiririka, lakini naendelea. Machozi yanatiririka, naendelea, naendelea, naendelea. Nafungua njia yangu.
Yes, that is a beautiful, beautiful song, and it's known as Machozi, and it's actually a taste of what you can find with Tanzanian music. If you're looking for some wonderful, wonderful music that can help you learn some Swahili or even get better with your Swahili, then I think I would urge you to check out some Swahili music. There's a whole lot of Swahili music on YouTube. Please make sure you go there and you find some of those particular tracks. And maybe perhaps you can download some of them or even playlist some of them. And when you're just chilling and relaxing and with not much, you can simply listen to these particular songs. And some of these particular things that we are learning here, they will make a whole lot of sense while you are learning and listening to the music. And also maybe perhaps you can watch some of these clips or movies on the clips on movies that are available on YouTube and other platforms as well, because that would actually be the way to help you get better with your Swahili. We are learning some Swahili grammar, and today our focus is on adjectives. And I will share with us this link so that in case you want to do some more learning later, you can visit mylanguages.org Swahili adjectives. And we are talking about the things that describe colors, they describe sizes, they describe shapes. When you talk about shapes, for example, if you're talking about something that is, circular, for a circle, you would say mviringo. Mviringo, that is a circular shape, mviringo. If you're talking about something that is straight, then you would say nyofu, because it shows that whatever you're talking about is straight. If you're talking about a square, you would talk about mraba. Mraba for a square. If you're talking about something that is triangular, you would say yenye pembe tatu. Pembe tatu is simply that triangle, and it's referred to as pembe tatu. If you're talking about a description of adjectives that are describing taste, the Swahili word for taste is latha. Latha. So, for example, if you're talking about something that is very sweet, then you would say ina latha tamu. Tamu means sweet. So therefore you might say latha tamu. Yenye latha tamu. But if something is bitter, you would say chungu. 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 For example, you might say latha chungu, then that would be a very bitter taste. And that would be a bitter taste for latha chungu. But if you're talking about something that is sweet, then you would say tamu. If you're describing something that has spicy, then you might say chenye viungo. Chenye viungo. That is simply to show that whatever you're describing, it is spicy, and you might say chenye viungo. If you're talking about something that is salty, you might say chenye chumvi or latha ya chumvi. Latha ya chumvi. If you're talking about something that is sour, then you might say yenye uchacha. Chacha is sour. Chacha is actually sour. Sour. If you're talking about qualities, there are good qualities, there are bad qualities, there are clean qualities, there are, things like that. But qualities in Swahili, the word for quality is sifa. Sifa yake is mean their quality. sifa yake, it means their quality. For example, if we're talking about bad in Swahili, we do say mbaya, mbaya. For example, you might say yenye sifa mbaya, it means the one that has bad qualities. If you're talking about good, you would say nzuri. I think we have already touched on that. If you're talking about good, you might say nzuri. You might say nzuri for something that is good. If something is difficult, then you would say, if something is difficult, you would say ngumu, ngumu for something that is difficult. But if something is easy, then you would say rahisi, rahisi. You would say rahisi. That is exactly how you would say it, rahisi. And if you're talking about something that is very empty, before you go to empty, let's study the word for dirty. If something is dirty, then you would say chafu, chafu. And for example, you might talk about the clothes being clean or dirty. If the cloth is dirty, then you would say nguo chafu. Nguo is cloth. Nguo chafu. Nguo chafu. That is a dirty cloth. Dirty cloth is nguo chafu. That dirty cloth is nguo chafu. If you're talking about sorry, excuse me. If we're talking about clean, you would say safi for clean, and therefore that would be nguo safi, nguo safi. For example, you remember the phrase for I want. Maybe you wanted clean clothes, then you would say ninataka nguo safi, nguo safi. Nguo safi is clean clothes. It's clean clothes. Clean clothes. Therefore, you might say ninataka nguo safi. That would be ninataka nguo safi. That would be I want clean clothes. I want clean clothes, because ninataka is actually one for I want. I want is the phrase for that is ninataka. The phrase for that is ninataka. Therefore, if you wanted clean clothes, you would say ninataka nguo safi. If you wanted dirty ones, you would if you didn't want dirty ones, then you would say sitaki nguo chafu. Sitaki nguo chafu. Chafu is for dirty, but clean is for safi. Up to that particular point, do you have a question? Does anyone have a question? If anyone has a question, tafadhali uliza. Tafadhali is the one for please. Tafadhali is a word for please. It's a word for please. So if I do say tafadhali this or that, tafadhali kuja, then that will be please come. If I did say tafadhali nenda, then that will be please leave. If I did say tafadhali skiza, then that would be please listen, because tafadhali is that a word, it's a common courtesy word. It means please. It means please. So you might say tafadhali skiza, then that would be please listen, because skiza simply is listen. And if you're talking about to speak, then you would say ongea, and therefore I would say tafadhali ongea, tafadhali ongea, tafadhali ongea, then that would be please speak. And that would be please speak, please speak. And of course, we have other common courtesy words and that we have learned here time and again. For example, you might tell someone kwaheri. Kwaheri is just a simple goodbye. Is just a goodbye. So if you're waving someone and you just want to see you just were there to see them off, you might say kwaheri. Kwaheri is just, when you're waving goodbye, you would say kwaheri. And remember, if it's to a sister, the one for sister is dada. That is, the one for sister is dada. So therefore, you would say kwaheri dada. You would say kwaheri dada. Kwaheri dada if you're waving at a sister and you're just parting ways and you just saying goodbye to them, you would say kwaheri dada, which is goodbye sister, goodbye sister, goodbye sister, goodbye sister. If you saying goodbye to a brother, then you would say kwaheri ndugu. Ndugu is a brother, or you might say kaka. Ndugu is a brother, or you might say kaka, K-A-K-A. Ndugu, you might say kaka. So this is for brother, and therefore, if you're saying goodbye to a brother, you will say kwaheri kaka, kwaheri kaka, kwaheri kaka. If it's to a mother, of course, a mother is mama. So therefore, you would say kwaheri mama, then that would be goodbye to a mother. Up to that particular point, if anyone has a question, tafadhali uliza. Tafadhali uliza swali. Tafadhali is please. Uliza is ask. And then swali is for question. So therefore, I would say, please ask a question. Please ask a question. Any question regarding our adjectives, which are vivumishi, not to be confused with vielelezi, because vielezi is simply for adverbs. Vielezi, that is simply for adverbs. It's simply for adverbs. Anyone has a question? Kuna mtu aliye na swali? Kuna mtu aliye na swali? Je, kuna mtu aliye na swali? Does anyone with a question? Anyone with a question? Anyone with a question? That is simply how you get to ask if anyone has a question. Remember, if you send hello to a group of individuals, you might say hamjambo. Hamjambo. Hamjambo is a hello to a group of people. And you might ask if this was a meeting, a town hall meeting or whatever. You might say, kuna mtu aliye na swali, hamjambo, which is hello. And you might say, kuna mtu aliye na swali. Mtu is a person. Mtu refers to a person. Refers to a person. Mtu refers to a person. You might say mtu mzuri. Mtu mzuri. That would be a good person. A good person. That would be a good person. Remember, if you were to emphasize, sorry, if you were to emphasize, the word for the, how you emphasize is by using the word very. So you might say, mtu mzuri sana, then that would be a very good person, a very good person. But on the contrary, if you're talking about someone that is bad, and this is how you describe them, then you describe them as mtu mbaya sana. Mtu mbaya, you're describing them with this adjective mbaya is a bad person, a bad person. So if you emphasize, then therefore you would say mtu mbaya sana. Mtu mbaya sana, that would be a very bad person. A very bad person, then that would be mtu mbaya sana. Our emphasis for today in this Swahili class is adjectives, and they are known as vivumishi. And we are talking about adjectives that describe qualities, that describe sizes, that describe colors. And if you're talking about something that is empty, if you're talking about maybe an empty box, you would say tupu, T-U-P-U. This is where we are at right now. T-U-P-U. This is T-U-P-U. For example, you might say sanduku tupu. It means an empty box. Sanduku is a box. And therefore, if you say ninataka sanduku tupu, then that would be I want an empty box. Or you might say sitaki. That is how we learn to negate. Sitaki sanduku tupu. Sitaki sanduku tupu. And therefore, you would say sitaki sanduku tupu. Sitaki sanduku tupu. That is the way you would say it. If you're talking about something which is a foreign, you would say geni. If you're talking about something that is expensive, you would call it gali. Gali. For example, simu gali, that means an expensive phone. Simu gali means an expensive phone. That is a simu gali. It means an expensive phone. If you're talking about maybe an expensive car, you would say gari, gari. That is the way you would say it. That is just the way you say it. So does anyone has a question? And thank you so much for joining us for class today. If you don't mind, please let us know where you are actually joining us from. It would be a delight to know where you are joining us from, and I will be more than happy to actually just give you a shout out. I will be more than glad to give you a shout out. So to continue with the verbs, the adjectives, if you're talking about something that is difficult, you would say ngumu. If you're talking about something that is easy, then you would say rahisi. If you're talking about something that is heavy, you would say nzito. You would say nzito. You would say nzito. If you're talking about something that is not heavy, if you're talking about something that is heavy, you would say nzito. You would say nzito. That is the way you would say it. You would say nzito. If you're talking about something that is light, you would say nyepesi. This is a word, nyepesi. Nyepesi for something that is very light. If you're talking about something that is new, you would say mpya. Something that is very new, you would say mpya. But if it's old, you would say nze. Nze. You would say nze. If you're talking about something that is a place that is quiet, you would say tulivu. If you're talking about something that is noisy, you would say kelele. If you're talking about something that is fast, you would say haraka. Haraka for something that is fast. If you're talking about something that is very slow, you would say pole pole. You would say pole pole for something. If it were rather slow, you would say pole pole. If you're talking about the strength, the qualities of strength, and you're describing that in your adjectives, you would say for strong, you would say yenye nguvu. For strong, you would say yenye nguvu. For the weak, you would say dhaifu, yenye udhaifu. Dhaifu is for weakness, and strength is nguvu. Nguvu is for strength, nguvu. NGUVU, that is strength, strength. But if you're talking about weakness, weakness, it becomes dhaifu. Dhaifu, that is for weakness. That is for weakness. So you might say kijana mwenye nguvu. And that would be, that's a guy with strength. If you say kijana mwenye udhaifu, then that would be a weak guy or a weak a gentleman for that particular purposes. And it's not difficult. I always do say that you need to keep on practicing, and practice makes perfect. It is very, very important that you keep on practicing until you become perfect. The more you practice, the more you become perfect. Does anyone have a question up to that particular point? Kuna aliye na swali? Kama uko na swali, tafadhali uliza. Tafadhali means please. Uliza means ask. Tafadhali uliza. Then I will be please ask anything regarding what you have just learned. I did say that vivomishi, these are the adjectives. And we have said that the adjectives, they are, of course, guided by the noun class. The noun class, there are many nouns in Swahili, and they are categorized into different classes for them to be able to be more understandable. For example, we have the KV class of noun. This is nouns that are mostly of, referring to inanimate objects. For example, a knife, a book, a chair. A chair is kiti. A knife is kisu. A book is kitabu. And those are some of the few examples that fall in the KV class of noun. We have the Jima class of noun. We have the Lia class of noun. We have the Awa or Mwa class of noun. All these nouns are very, very vital for you to be able to understand how they relate to the adjective. It is very, very important for you to be able to understand how they relate with the adjective. My name is Spikes, and in case you're joining us for the very first time, I would urge you to also connect with us on our official network website. It's www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. Once you are on there, please make sure that you turn on the notifications so that you can get to find out when the classes are happening, when the shows are going on. It is very, very important that you get to do so. And also, you can ask and interject when you're having these particular shows, and maybe you can make your comment, it is very, very important that you get to engagement. Ask a question. You are able to learn by asking questions. If you never ask questions, then you might not be able to fulfill that learning process. It is still very, very important that you are able to ask questions in regards to what is being taught. I did say Swahili is it's a very, very beautiful language. It's not difficult to learn. What you realize is that the language is one of the easiest to learn on the continent. With the continent has over 1,500 languages, I believe close to 2,000 languages. We have chosen Swahili because Swahili is it has a gist. It's a beautiful language. It has a gist, and it's a language made up of syllables with alternating vowel sounds. Yes, it is made of syllables with alternating vowel sounds. For example, kitabu, you might say a thing like nguvu. Nguvu, this is 2 syllables. You might say a thing like dhaifu. Dhaifu is 3 syllables. You might talk about something such as tafadhali, which has a couple of syllables, but these have alternating vowel syllables with alternating vowel sounds, and therefore it makes it easy for anyone to be able to learn Swahili. We shall take a short break, enjoy some Swahili music. This song is known as Zamu. Zamu means a turn. So if someone says Zamu yangu, it means just my turn. And we shall continue to learn after this particular short break. Do not leave us. Please make sure that you're joined. And of course, invite a friend. Tell a friend that there are Swahili classes on the network on on Saturdays and Sundays.
Na iwapo kuna muda napojiuliza, mbona ni kama nimesahaulika, napata mawazo na fikira, hisia nazo kanizingira, kisha usingizi kitandani, nahisi tena haupo, ila nina imani kuwa muda haujazini, moyo usikate tamaa, nipo hapa nasubiri. Zamu yangu, ndoto zangu, sote nitafikia, mieko walioshuku watafahamu, eti Mola wetu ndiye, ndio maana sina shaka wala haraka, najua zamu yangu ipo. Zamu yangu ipo. Zamu yangu ipo. Macho yangu yaangaza juu kwa Mola mwenye uweza, njoo sinani kwa mwingine, najua zamu yangu ipo, aliyeweka tumaini ni kwa wanadamu, kesho kamkia mabadiliko, nyakati na muda ukawa umesonga, ila sasa muda umewadia, juu nina imani kuwa sauti ya ndani inaniita kwa amani, najua si milele. Zamu yangu, ndoto zangu, zote nitafikia, mieko waliosuku watafahamu, eti Mola wangu ndiye, ndio maana sina shaka wa haraka, najua zamu yangu ipo. Zamu yangu ipo. Zamu yangu ipo. Mwenye kutawala mbingu na nchi, yeye kwa misimu anatamalaki, yote majira, furaha na dhiki, anazidi kustahiki, yeye ana uwezo wa kunipa zamu yangu, siku iliyoonekana haifiki. Zamu yangu itakapowadia, milango iliyofungwa itafunguka kwetu sisi. Maana nina imani kuwa kwa mama na baba, kaka na dada, naomba usikate tamaa. Iwapo wengi wamekuongea, hata marafiki na jamaa, usikufe moyo wala kufadhaika, maana nina imani kuwa zamu ya...
Yes, that's a beautiful song, and it says "Usife moyo, usifadhaike." That simply means do not lose hope. You know, usife moyo, which is do not lose hope, because what happens is that when maybe perhaps you're just about to give up, that is when things turn around, and that is when things work out for good, and therefore, beautiful uplifting pipes right there. And the name of the song is Zamu. Zamu, it means turn. I did say if someone says Zamu yangu, they are simply referring to my turn. They are simply referring to my turn, and they're talking about my turn is coming, which is Zamu yangu yaja. How is your weekend? I do hope that your weekend is coming up just fantastic, and if not, things will shape up. I know that over the weekends, people get pretty busy from point A to point B, connecting with friends, connecting with work, getting things done. And in case you are not able to join us on the live, you can always watch the playback of this particular class. And in case you do have a question, you can always feel free to write to blackhotfireafrica@gmail.com. Black Hotfire Africa. Let me just put it down. Black Hotfire Africa. Hotfire Africa at gmail.com, which is blackhotfireafrica@gmail.com. And that would be, you can send an email, you can ask a question, or you can raise any issue that you would like to raise, or maybe perhaps even request for notes for our Swahili class, and I'll be more than glad to share with you those particular notes. Remember, we do have the official network website. It's www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. And on the network right there, you can be able to connect with us, and you can be able to find out more about the Black Hot Fire Network. What is the mission? What happens with the Black Hot Fire Network? And how can you get involved? It is very, very important that you also get to check that out and find out what is happening with the Black Hot Fire Network on www.blackhotfirenetwork.com. We go back to class. Today, our focus is on adjectives once again. And you can be able to learn about the adjectives that give or describe different qualities. If you're talking about something being very quiet, it's known as tulivu. If you're talking about something being very correct, you would say sahihi. If you're talking about something being very wrong, you would say yenye makosa. If you're talking about something being very young, then you would say ujana. That is exactly how you would say it, ujana. And if you're talking about maybe perhaps the quality that shows the quantity, if it's a small quantity, you would say chache for a few. If it's a little, you would say kidogo. I think we have used the word kidogo severally so many times right here. If you're talking about many, you would say wengi or wingi. Wingi shows many. If you're talking about much, then you would say zaidi. If you're talking about a small part, you'd say sehemu. If you're talking about some, you would say baadhi. If you're talking about a few, you would say chache. But if you're talking about the whole of it, then you would say nzima, according to some of those examples that have actually been given on this particular tabular table. Those are some of the examples that we get to use and that we get to describe when we are learning this beautiful language of Swahili. If you do have a question, please ask. I will be more than happy to respond to your question. Tafadhali uliza kama uko na swali lolote. Lolote means any. That is how it is. Lolote simply means any. If someone has any question, then you would say swali lolote. Swali lolote is how you would say it. Swali lolote. That is how you would say it. Swali lolote is how you would actually just say it. So that is exactly how you would, sorry about that, that is exactly how you would actually address the adjectives. And it is also important that you also refer to other platforms. For example, the Duolingo app. The Duolingo app is also very instrumental in terms of helping you learn and understand more of your Swahili. It is very, very important. Nonetheless, I think we shall end our class at that particular juncture. The next time, tomorrow, we shall be continuing. And please make sure that you join us tomorrow. And please be, engage with us. Please engage with us. It would be very, very important that you engage with us because the more you engage with us, the more you learn, and it becomes even much better when you learn together with us right here on the Black But Funny Talk Media for the 21st century. In case you want a copy of the notes, please write to us. It's blackbutfunafrica@gmail.com. In case you want a copy of the notes, it's blackbutfunafrica@gmail.com. And I will be happy to be able to respond to you and share the notes with you. I'm sharing the email on the screen. It's black.funnytalk@gmail.com. And I will be more than happy to respond and share with you those particular notes, and also maybe continue to help you get better in your class, help you get better in your understanding of our beautiful language of Swahili. Much peace and love. Till next time, I want to say Kwaheri. Please make sure to join us tomorrow. Tell a friend to tell a friend, and that is actually the best way in which we can be able to learn and continue with our knowledge of this beautiful language of Swahili. For now, it's me, Spike, signing out. Till next time, much peace and love. I want to say Kwaheri.